gov. If you're a restaurant trying to seek some funds for the restaurant fund, you can start registering for it on Friday, but you cannot apply for it until next Monday, May 3rd. Register on Friday, apply on Monday. And what basically what the fund's going to be, and Mike's going into more detail, it's for restaurants, for bars, for lounges, for caterers, for food trucks, all those folks who've been really hit by the pandemic. So Mike's got some great information coming your way. We're so excited about this program. We're getting the information out there to Kansas City as much as we can, and we want Kansas City to be sure to get its fair share. Thanks with your partnership, Mike, Danny. I think that KCK is going to have a good shot to get some of these funds.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate your time. Again, we've been very encouraged by your support, and having a direct line to your office is already proving its worth and dividends for sure. So really appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to hearing from your team today.
Okay,
thank you, Michael.
You guys have a great conference.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, I would like to introduce our speakers. And again, in terms of agenda, we're going to cover the PPP update first, and then get into the RRF conversation. So at this point, I'd like to introduce our three speakers for today. We have Michael McWhorter, Lead Lending Specialist for the US SBA, Kansas City, Peter Rosell, Senior Vice President, Security Bank, and Justin Aikiranwu. How'd I do on that one, Justin? From Offcap. Ah, dang it, okay. You all will recognize Justin and Peter from conversations in the past around PPP. Again, very, very grateful to have these two gentlemen back with us. And of course, now to have the SBA with us as well. So gentlemen, as we previously discussed via email, I'm gonna ask that you share an update from your perspective from where you sit. So we want the SBA update on PPP, Security Bank. You all have been very busy with these PPP loans and continue to do so, and AltCap as well. So why don't we go ahead and get started with Michael McWhorter from the SBA, and then we'll go down the line with Peter and then Justin.
Michael? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's a privilege to be here today to share some of the information that we have on the programs available that are coming out and the ones that are existing. The PPP program that you're speaking about has been running since April 3rd of last year. And as I understand it, as of Friday, we usually get weekly updates. We're down to about 40 billion roughly left in the PPP program, which does expire May 31st or until the funds run out. So with that being said, we have been, and we got some of our partners here with us today that's going to speak to you. We have been putting it out, and I want to throw out the fact that if it were not for great partners like that will be speaking today, SBA could not have done this. We're looking at somewhere around 17 million applications. The SBA is a small entity in the agency of the government. Before the COVID, we only had 2,800 people working at the agency. So without our partners and bankers and people in there to come in and be able to get these funds out on the street and make it available to them, it would not have been a success as it has been. And with that, I'll let the rest of the speakers speak about their part.
Okay, let's hop on over to Mr. Peter Rosell. Oh, you're on mute, sir.
Yes, now I'm on mute. Anyway, we've been very busy processing the second round PPP loans. We're seeing total volume in terms of numbers about 550 compared to the first round of about 1,100. So it's about half. And dollar volume is also about half. We're up to about 50 million compared to about 113, 14 million the first round. Interesting, about 80% of the second round applicants are Schedule C filers. There were a number of them that were not eligible the first time around because the criteria based their income based on the net. And then that rule was revised to allow the gross receipts qualify for the application process. So we're very pleased with the process. We're seeing a lot of really small mom and pop entities apply this time around that we didn't see the first time.
Thank you very much, Peter. Appreciate all the work that Security Bank is doing for our small businesses. Justin with AltCap, and if you could just give a quick update on who AltCap is for folks that may not know.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Appreciate everybody that's on this call. We worked really closely with a few of you. Appreciate all the work you do for our community. Again, my name is Justin Carrion-Wu, Business Development Officer with AltCap. AltCap is a community development financial institution, a CDFI for short. Organizations like ours are in the community to help support business owners who, for whatever reason, are having a hard time accessing funds from more traditional financial institutions, banks, credit unions. For us, what that assistance looks like is normally through microloans. Once the pandemic hit, we really took a step back from our more traditional microloan program, which is those loans up to $50,000, and really shifted our focus towards how we could use our positioning to be of some service to businesses who are hit heavily by the stay-at-home mandate and all that happened through COVID-19. Once the CARES Act made it a possibility for us to get involved in the Paycheck Protection Program, and seeing the amount of Black and brown minority businesses who were left out of those initial rounds, all those stories that were going on, we thought that it would be a perfect time for us to try to get involved, to apply our ability to assist some businesses in the community. In that first round, just kind of figuring things out, we were able to do 64 loans of just a little bit over 1.1 million, which isn't a lot compared to the larger banks and institutions, but we're really appreciative to have been in position to help those businesses. Out of those 64 loans, 36 were to minority-owned businesses, and out of that, 29 were to Black-owned businesses. So we felt like we did a good job of just kind of putting ourselves out there as another resource. And we wanted to kind of fine tune some of that for this next round. So we started a team of CPAs, a technical assistance team that could help business owners who needed to understand how to put their packets together for applications. We work really closely with the SBA. Michael has been a great help to us in putting on different webinars. And we took all of those things and realized that what we really need to do in this instance is put forth a way to really streamline the application process. So we opened an online platform called LenderFit, and we're utilizing LenderFit to allow business owners to upload all of their documentation directly to the platform and really cut out some of the emailing and back and forth so that we can get things pretty swiftly into the SBA. So to this point, we've done a little bit over 160 PPP applications and got those approved by the SBA, and a little bit over 2.7 million in PPP lending. So we're going strong until this next deadline. I believe the SBA's deadline is May 31st. Our internal deadline at AltCap is May 24th. So if there's any business owners that any of us here are connected to who are looking for some help, we're definitely here to provide some assistance up until the 24th. So again, my name's Justin. I can leave my email in the chat, and I appreciate everybody that's on the call.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate that update. Please do put your email in the chat. I think folks will appreciate that, and we've been having seminars on PPP throughout this pandemic, trying to get the information out to our folks as much as possible. We're still hearing that not everyone is tapping into this resource for whatever reason. So really appreciate some of that technical assistance that you all are offering. We understand that some of our business owners are really great at what they do, but maybe all the paperwork isn't up to par where it needs to be. So again, if you are needing assistance, folks on this call, if you've not yet received PPP or have applied or not applied for whatever reason, please reach out to Justin. I think AltCap might be the best suited at this point to help these individuals. Security Bank as well. I know they're processing a lot of loans as well. But if you need help on the technical assistance side, please do reach out. AltCap is a great partner of ours. I do want to spend a little time for questions on PPP before we move to the next phase of our presentation. Are there any outstanding questions from business owners on this call regarding PPP? Is there something you don't understand or something that you have found challenging? Now is the time to ask. We have the experts on the line. Okay, looks like there's not a whole lot of questions. I'm gonna call on Mr. Kaminsky. You had some challenges with PPP, correct, sir?
Yes, we're a nonprofit, the Moose Lodge of Kansas City, Kansas. We're a nonprofit, and we are a 501c8. We actually had no employees. We do now, but our employees were all volunteers. Our people that help here are all volunteers. We had 106% decrease in business and in revenue from the year from 2019 to 2020. The things we keep hitting, we did receive $3,000 in the EIDL. That we did get that, but we were always told, since we were and I didn't have employees, and we didn't have the, I didn't W-2 them until right now, that we couldn't get. And then also now this targeted PPP, we are right next to Amazon Center, so we're just on the border of being outside the targeted area to get PPP. So probably Amazon's bringing up, as far as the wealth of this area, it's still a poor area in Wyandotte County. Is these things that we're just having problems with, and we're just having problems with getting any response or any help at all. We have none. I have got no help except for that $3,000. So, is there
Gentlemen, any thoughts?
That's going to be a hard one. I'm sure my compadres can jump in there too. As he was stating about his problem is not having any employees at the beginning, and everything on this was tied to the CARES Act that was passed back in March 2020 is where all this started. And when we went live, the intent of the program is, everybody knows on this call, probably we went through multiple changes, and we were intending to keep people employed, to keep them off of payroll, and that was the biggest part of the program. But I definitely can feel for him about the fact of, matter of fact, I was a Moose Lodge member up in Lee Summit, Virginia. But I can understand that, because it's confusing, because now they have employees they didn't have and all that. And how does that all fit together on the time frames? Because you had to be in operation, which they met by the February 15th deadline of 2020. But at the same token, they didn't have any employees in 19, and I'm going to assume you didn't have any employees in 20. You said you just recently put employees on, so that really takes you out of the ball game on that. The idle that you talked about, the advance on that, that's a grant program too, but I would also proceed on, if I were y'all, with the idle disaster loan, which is a 30-year term at like 3.5% interest. But that might be able to help you meet some of your overhead and employee costs currently. Any of my partners out there got anything else on that, or?
No, I've been recommending that because I've had several clients that weren't eligible. And so I've steered them toward other economic injury products like the 30-year loan program, and try and get them money that way.
I concur with that. Mm-hmm.
Justin, anything on the all cap side? Any other options for Mr. Kaminsky in the Moose Lodge?
Well, as far as the SBA products are concerned, I think that I would definitely agree with our guys there. But as far as other products that we have available, one thing that we've been trying to do is introduce people to a COVID fund that we opened about this time last year. I know that it's not the same as being able to get a grant or with PPP getting it forgiven, but just to offer another resource, we have a 3-year loan where the first year is 0%, the second year is 2%, the third year is 4.5%. It also has a possibility for 6 months of deferred payments if it's something that would help after being approved, up to $50,000. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that's something that we have currently that's also been a good kind of supplement to some of the offerings that the SBA's had. Right now, we've really just been making PPP a priority, and then folks who don't fit that, maybe pointing them in the direction of the SBA for EIDL. But on the back end, we do have that available as well to help business owners. So if that's something that might be of some kind of help, if you think that that's something, I'd love to talk further offline about that.
Can I ask a question on that? On the EIDL, are we able to apply for, since we're outside the targeted area, are we able to apply for that, the EIDL? I got it the first time, but the second time it said it was targeted, so I didn't go for it the second time. And now that I have more employees, because when you say Moose Lodge, we have a full bar, we have a full restaurant now that we've opened up since, trying to increase our funds. But that is what I'm wondering. Can I get that without being in the targeted area?
Michael, it looks like you're on mute, sir. It's like the phrase of the
All right, there
pandemic.
you go. I'm just talking to myself. I like to hear myself talk. Most days I go, hey, Mike, you know what's up? I'm sorry about that, Richard. Most of the advance and target advance, what that is the grant portion, the $10,000 grant portion of the EIDL program that came out back in March of 2020. Two things real quick, and I'll be real brief about this. I worked many years for disaster. When the president come out and made a presidential declaration of disaster because of COVID, he did that prior to Congress passing the bill for the CARES Act. When he did that, that instituted SBA's disaster program, and we were going to give EIDLs, like, and some of you may remember, there's some of us there, but on 9/11, we had a nationwide disaster, and we had to work everybody across the nation and territories. Same thing happened this time when he made the national declaration across all the 50 states and territories. That program was set up, and then Congress came in behind it, passed the CARES Act. And with the CARES Act, they said, give everybody $10,000. And then they said, no, wait, we're going to give them $1,000 per employee. No, we're going to, anyway, a bunch of stuff. The disaster loan portion of the EIDL is still available until December 31st, 2021. And that is a loan. It won't be a grant. Like Justin was saying, they've got that, and that's a pretty good little deal they got going on. But it's a loan. And so if you applied the first time, if that was a grant you received, you still have the option to get the loan. If that was your loan, you can always ask for an increase, reconsideration. And what they've done is they take a look at your last 6 months of it. They call it needs, what's your expenses. But if you want to, I put my information there, Richard. Shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to talk to you about it and explain a little bit more about the situation, because I know we got a lot to get to today and a lot of information, but I'll be glad to talk to you.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Let's give one more round to see if there's any more questions on PPP before we move into the RRF piece of the conversation. Feel free to speak up if you're on the phone, or raise your hand if you're on video. Okay, hearing none, then we will now move our conversation into Restaurant Revitalization Fund. Now, Michael, I understand that this is a grant program, and we look forward to your presentation on this. So I have allowed you co-sharing screen, ability to share the screen. And then for AltCap and Security Bank, you know, if you all are tied to this, feel free to jump in.
All right, I'm gonna get this going here. Let's see. Okay, guys. Hope everybody can see that.
Yep.
All right. Now, once again, I want to introduce myself. I'm Michael McWhorter with the SBA District Office located in Kansas City, Missouri. We're downtown. We're in the Commerce Bank building. I am the lead lending relations specialist for the Kansas City District Office. And today I'm going to be doing my presentation on the restaurant revitalization. We got some information in here. It's going to be, it'll help you explain some stuff. And with that, I won't get started. I know time is of value here. The American Rescue Plan was an act that was approved or signed into law March 11th. And as we've already been talking on this call about how these bills are being signed in a stair-step effect, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund is properly known as RRF. We love our acronyms, and we have a bunch of them. So with that being said, Congress set aside $28.6 billion for the RRF, authorizing SBA to award the funds. And it took us a little while to get our program together, how we're going to do it. But as Michael was saying earlier in the meeting, that will go live Monday, May 3rd. And as of Friday, you can start putting information in about your application. The couple of key gold nuggets here is you're going to have between February of 2020 and March 11th, 2023 to spend eligible funds, as you see as we go through here. Now, a lot of questions come up, and this was a hot topic yesterday. I've been presenting these a lot over the last couple of weeks. Who is eligible for this? Well, it's basically like the name says, it's a restaurant, anybody serving food. We got caterers, bars, salons, snack bars, non-alcoholic beverages, bakeries, brew pubs, or winery, distillers, inns, anything that serves food to the public. Now, on this screen I've got up here right now, there is some stuff about the bakeries and snack bars and all that. They have asterisks on them. It says that you must have at least 33% of your gross receipts be on-site sales. And what they're saying is, if you, for instance, was a micro brewer and you had a little seating area in there, but 33%, you don't get 33% of your gross receipts was derived from that area, and you sold your beer all across the United States, then you're not going to be qualifying for it. So you have to have at least 33%. And I'd like to point out down at the bottom, it says all entities listed above that do not have the asterisk are presumed to have greater than 33%. That's a number we're sticking with on this program because it's in the law. It's not something SBA came up with. It's just that's what they want, is people that had business operating and had local on-site service. Excuse me. Now, who is ineligible? Well, we're going to go with any kind of state or local government that operates a business. As of March 13, 2020, owned or operated together with any affiliate businesses, more than 20 locations. So if you got more than 20 locations, you're not going to be eligible for this. Has a pending application to receive the shutter venue operation grant. Is a public traded company, because you're publicly traded, you have access to ways to gain capital. Is permanently closed. Now, and I'll say this, and you're going to see it later in the PowerPoint presentation, that doesn't mean that, Jackson County came out and closed you down for 3 months, everybody. That's not permanently closed. Permanently closed means you've turned the keys in, you've locked everything up, and you're not opening again. Is a nonprofit organization and is not eligible for funds of at least $1,000. Now, that's our cutoff. So if you get funds worth $1,000 or more, you're in. If you got $453 that you're eligible for, you won't get it. So that's what we're looking at there. A lot of people ask, because there was social media out there and a lot of associations were out there touting the fact that you had to have a 45% decrease in sales in order to qualify. There's been all kinds of stuff. And that's the reason we wait till we get the guidelines and attorneys get through looking at everything. SBA will provide funds up to $5 million per location, not to exceed $10 million. Again, you could have 10 locations, each one of them getting 500,000, or excuse me, 100,000, then you wouldn't succeed the 10 million mark. But you cannot have over more than 5 million per location. And again, the minimum award is going to be $1,000. Now, how is this program different from the SBA program? Applicants do not need to be registered with SAM. SBA does not require them to have a DUNS number, that's a Dun and Bradstreet number, or a cage identifier. We're not requiring you to do that like we did on our 7As and our PPPs and shuttered venue grant programs. You have to have a valid, unexpired ITIN number are accepted. So I know that's been a little bit of deal there, the ITIN numbers. And if you have one, you know what I'm talking about. I want to point out here, it's in blue for you. If you have trouble with your number, you have to go to the IRS. SBA does not renew, issue, or give you those numbers. That's from the IRS, and that's where you'll need to go. I get calls or emails every day about that. That's where you got to go, is irs.gov. Now, who's eligible for organizations? Basically, any corporation, any partnership, limited liability company, sole prop, self-employed individuals, independent contractors, tribal business, LLC taxed as an S corp or sole prop. Any business that entity that's used file your tax under is pretty much eligible. That's just the bottom line. I will roll back up. You do have to file your taxes because we're going to get into that, but you got to file taxes on your business. So who's eligible as a franchise? Now, SBA has a franchise registry, which we have listed all the approved franchises so far. There's new ones coming out every day. There's ones deciding to join in or whatever. I can tell you that stuff like, example, McDonald's is a franchise, but it's not an SBA approved franchise. And they never will be because of their way their franchises work. If you have a franchise and you're not registered on the franchise directory, in this PowerPoint, you can go down and go to the franchise at sba.gov, and you can submit, the franchisee can submit the documents for the franchisor, either one, and get put on the list of I'm going blank here, on the directory, I'm sorry. You can be added to the directory. And so if you're not there, you're going to need to check that out. It's very simple to look at. Who is eligible in bankruptcy? Now, this one gets a little bit muddy here in the water sometimes. Applicants who are operating under approved plan for reorganization, so that's chapter 11, 12, and 13, and meet all the program requirements as set forth as eligibility. So if you're in chapter 11 or 13 and you're reorganizing and you've got an approved plan from the court, you have a trustee, you can still get this loan or this grant. If you file chapter 7, you're not going to be eligible to get the grant because that's pretty much you're done. You're throwing your hands up and you're through. Permanently closed businesses, again, does not include businesses that were temporarily closed their doors due to state or local restrictions or other pandemic causes, but are still in operation or have reopened. So you got, that's again there, it's going to be a key thing to this. Now, how do other SBA relief programs impact your RRF? Well, any funds that you received in the Paycheck Protection Program or PPP will be subtracted from your approved funding amount. So if you're approved for $50,000, just an example, and you got $20,000 in PPP, PPP protection, you got that $20,000, you're going to subtract it from the 50, and that's going to leave you 30. So that's what you'll get in this program, be 30,000. So it's going to be based on that. Now, if the applicants applied for the first draw with multiple locations under an EIN number and subsequently applied for a second draw under different EIN numbers, the applicant must provide the EIN for each entity that received a second draw loan. This is going to be critical, and guys, a lot of this is going to be you going to be self-verifying yourself. You're not going to a bank, you're doing it online, you're coming straight to us. If you applied for your PPP loans and you used a social security number, like I work for myself, and I run a little truck business, diner out of a truck, and I got an EIN number, but I've really never used it because it's my LLC, but hey, I'll just use that on this because I don't want to deduct my PPP. Guys, this is a federal document you're signing just like the IRS tax returns. You just use the same information used on the PPP. You'll come out miles down the road better off. Now, the applicant must not have a pending application for the shutter venue operation grant. That will disqualify you. The two are competing grants. Shutter venue and the restaurant are two competing grants, and they're not going to give you a grant for both of them. Right here, Applicants must certify that current economic uncertainty makes their funds necessary, requests necessary to support the ongoing anticipating operation. This is what I was talking about. You're going to self-certify yourself, and you're going to say that due to the pandemic, Mike, due to the pandemic, we've lost business. We've been shut down. We're not doing any good. Okay, well then that's fine, and we'll go with that. Now, what are eligible use of funds? This is always a big question from a lot of people. We'll probably get some more Q&A. Business payroll costs, business utility, business maintenance expense. Basically anything you have that you pay to operate your business. Now, I want to be clear here in the middle section, it says construction expenses. Now, we're not doing expansion programs with this grant fund, and if you use it, you'll be in violation. This construction part was only for people who were allowed to serve their clients outside the restaurant, and they had to construct or put up tables and stuff like that. This expense is eligible use of proceeds. Now, on your debt side, you can make your payments, okay? You can make your payments, both principal and interest in this program, not just like with the PP, you can only pay interest only. This one allows you to make the payments each month, but you don't want to pay off the debt completely with the funds, but you can make the payments each time. So operating expenses, whatever it costs you to operate, open the doors each day. Construction only for outdoor seating, no expansions. And then business debt that you have on your books. When do I have to use these funds? All right, now this is critical here. We must use these funds between February 15th, 2020, that's 2020, through or by March 11th, 2023. So we're giving you over 2 years to use these funds up. Now, a business permanently closed after receiving the funds, and the cover period will end when the business is permanently closed on March 11th, whichever comes sooner. So now, if you get the funds, what we're trying to address here in a very short, brief manner is, if you get your you get your grant funds and you close your business permanently in 8 months, then that's when your time period stops, is when you close the business and walk and shut the doors and liquidate. Any funds you haven't spent on eligible expenses, by the time the cover period expires, then you must return the funds to the government. So if you get a grant for $40,000 and you're sitting there and comes March 11, 2023, you hadn't spent all that money, any funds you have left over, you'll have to return. Now, when do I have to use the funds? Well, you can use the funds, you can use them towards, paying bills and stuff like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask you, after your total award funds have been exhausted, that you provide us a document of expenditure report and certify that this was during the required period. This is going to be critical. We don't have everything. We don't have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed, because this is going to be down the road. But I want you to be aware of it. And as you see, it says it begins December 2021. Whatever you spend your money for, the best advice I can give you is keep your receipts. Now, you don't have to go out and pay you a CPA to do your accounting of all the funds you spent. You can, but you don't have to. But you want to keep your sales receipts together. You want to provide them on some kind of like an Excel or some kind of business accounting software you might have that operates your business. You're going to need to keep that handy, and you're going to have to provide it for us. And all that information will be coming forth. And it says coming weeks. I'm going to say it's going to be coming months, but as everything has been a little backed up. But we're going to get guidance on that. But right now, we want you to get applied. One of my key things is, when in doubt, apply. If you're in doubt whether or not you qualify for it, apply. We'll let you know. Now, how do I calculate it? Like I was saying earlier about the 45% rule, that wasn't real. What we're going to do is we're going to take your anybody that was operating before January 1st, 2019. So you got a complete 2019 tax return. You're going to take those gross receipts minus your 2020 gross receipts. Well, Mike, I haven't filed my 2020 taxes yet. That's okay. You should have some kind of end of year. You should have some kind of a financial statement, a P&L, profit and loss statement. You should have some idea of where you're at on that. and I'm going to cover some additional information you get. This is calculation 1. Very simple. Calculation 2 is going to be for anybody who was partially open during 2019. So if an applicant business opened in June of 2019, you're going to use this right here. You're going to take your monthly gross receipts, multiply them by 12, and that's going to give you an annual 2019 gross receipts. And you're going to subtract the 2020 gross receipts from that. And we're going to minus our PPP loan amount. And I forgot that on the other one up there, but anytime you got PPP, any money you got, you're going to take away from the total grant fund here. The PPP is going to be a grant once you apply for forgiveness and get forgiven. But you have to subtract that number from your total amount of your difference between 2019 and 2020. Applicants can be in operation partial 2019 and may choose to use calculation 2 or calculation 3. Now, calculation 3 is going to be the next one, and it requires a longer processing time for our side because we're going to have somebody come in here and look at the numbers and go through it with you. So, calculation 3. What you have to do here is this is primarily for people who are in operation between January 1st, 2020 and March 10th, 2021. That was just a couple of weeks ago. These applicants have not yet opened or have incurred eligible expenses. So maybe you started to open in the summer, you're just now opening, but during the summer you had expenses that are eligible. The total amount spent on eligible expenses between February and 2020 and March 11th, minus the 2020 or 2021 gross receipts, minus your PPP loan. So you can see we're going to do a whole lot of minusing and adding and subtracting in this one. So this is going to be a little different. So remember, if you're open partially in 2019, you can use calculation 2 or calculation 3. And now, what can I exclude from 2020 gross receipts? Great question. Guys, you don't have to add your PPP loan to your 2020 gross receipts. You don't have to add your Section 112. Now, if you don't have this and you're going to SBA Section 112 payments, what's that? That was loan payments the SBA made on SBA loans. Not for other loans, but for their own SBA loans, we made payments for the small business owners. SBA, we talked about the idle. Y'all heard us talking. I believe it was Richard. You don't have to count that in your gross receipts. Also, we're going to include any state and local business grants because I know that Missouri and Kansas both have some grant programs. And the Randolph-Shepard Act financial relief will not be counted. So if you got your PPP loan or your idle or any of those, you don't have to count that in your gross receipts. We're just looking for what did you sell to your customers. Now, great question, how do I apply? Again, directly through the SBA platform at restaurants.sba.gov. And if you're listening to me on the phone or you don't have a pen and paper, guys, you can go to sba.gov, very simple email, SBA, that's Sam Bravo Alpha.gov. And from there, you can maneuver and go anywhere you want to. It's got a big red thing. It says coronavirus. You punch it and it takes you to all of our programs. Now, for some of you that have point of sale vendors, you can apply through them. They're going to be able to set up and apply for you in the POS systems that you have, point of sales. And I will point out if you were not opened or you just started your POS service, let's say I started at April 1st, I can't apply through them because they will not have the records to be able to verify the 19, 20, and 21, anything like that. So if you just started your point of sale vendor, you won't be able to apply through them. But if you've had them for a couple of years or since 19, you can use them. Through the telephone, our number there is 844-279-8898. This is a total free number, but I want to strongly recommend go get where you can get online and do this application. It's going to be much faster. If you got to go to Starbucks and sit down there and use their internet, or you can go to any public library, you can go in there. You find a place you can get to the internet because it's going to be the quickest way and get you the quickest response to it. What documents do I need in order to apply? application is going to be the SBA Form 3172, which will be online. If you go online and you'll complete it, and we're going to digitally sign it there through a program, and you won't have to worry about it. The IRS 4506T. Now, what that's for is for you to fill out, and then we send to the IRS and we verify your tax returns you're telling us. Even though we're all government agency, we don't play in our own sandbox. So it isn't like we can just walk next door and ask them for it. So we have to have that form from you in order to get it. Then gross receipt documents, any of the following documentation demonstrating the gross receipts and, if applicable, eligible expenses. The preferred thing is going to be your tax returns. That's going to be the best and easiest thing. You can have 1120s, you can have 1120Ss, you can do your 1040 on your Schedule C, you can do partnerships on a 1065. Now, if we're looking at, Mike, I hadn't filed my 2020 yet, what I do? You can do your bank statements. You can take your each month bank statements, add up your gross revenues off of what you deposit, how much money did you deposit in there, if that's your business bank account. External or internal prepared financials. If you've got something like Quicken Books, or I'm not advertising anybody, but if you got some kind of business platform that you keep your books on, you can use that. Again, that point of sale, including IRS Form 1099K. So we got many ways to get there. You're not tied into it. You're not painted into a corner. You're all right. What documents I need in order to apply continues. If you're sitting there and you have to do this offline, you're going to have to get these applications, the verification forms, and your gross receipts and stuff like that. They'll be sent to you if you do it on the phone. You'll have to sign them and send them back in, which delays everything. This right here, the key part of this whole thing is 3 months bank statements. Guys, it goes live May 3rd. I get my bank statements usually of like the 10th or 12th of the month. You got to have the 3 most current bank statements. So I would have to provide February, March, and April. February, March, and April would be my 3 bank statements, the closest ones I got. So I'd have to have those. You got to have that. Well, okay. What we're trying to do is help cut down on fraud with that too. If you got 3 months bank statements and they're current, don't send them 3 months back in 2019 or 2020. It's not going to help you. All right. You got to have something that shows your 2020 gross receipts. So federal taxes is preferred. Point of sale is another one. Except many delays past 14 days, acceptable. Yeah, external and internal prepared things, we can go with it. So try to have your tax returns. That's the best way to do it. Continued again, again, here we are, same documents, 2020 gross receipts, at least one for each year. We're going to look at that. Eligible expenses documented. If we're somebody that started prior to March 11th, 2021, you're going to have documents about your expenses. You can use a CPA to get you a profit and balance statement showing that. If accepted, I get that now, may delay review by 14 days. Anything we have to physically go in and look at and have to set and see what's going on and make a determination, it's going to slow it down. Whereas your tax returns, for example, I can go to your gross receipts on your tax return, no matter which form it is. I can go to gross receipts, which is usually on the first page of it. And I can go there and look at that, and I can look at 2020, 2019, 2020. Okay, there are. It's easier to compare and easier to get done. What documents I need to order and pay again? I don't want to beat a dead horse in the ground and everything, but you're going to have to document what your sales were for the 33%. And in doing that, you're going to have gross receipts for that area. Acceptable forms are going to be something from either like sales tax, maybe something where you finally, you create a report. I've got a small restaurant. It seats 100 people, but due to the pandemic, I could only open up 20% of it. So now I only can seat 20 people. And these are my sales that come in because I kept up that, I got a waitress to work in, a waiter, and this, that. You're going to have to prove to us how you got to your 33%. So you're going to have some records to be able to do that. And that's what you want to look at. So on-site sales is going to be critical. And remember, it's 33% of the gross receipts in 2019. Okay, is what you're going to have to be looked at. So keep that in mind in 2022. So figure out how you want to do it. We're going to be real lenient on that. How do I get help applying for this, Mike? You've told a lot today, and I just don't know what I'm going to do. The first thing that you need to do is this 800 number, which has been throughout the presentation, 844-279-8898. That's the number you're going to want to contact. We are told by headquarters we're staffing that up. There's going to be people there that can answer your questions and everything like that. Second thing is, because I know we have people from different areas that listen to these PowerPoints, again, go to sba.gov. You can go to local assistance, but if you're here in Kansas City, we're at the Kansas City SBA.gov district office. You can go in there and send us stuff. I can tell you that I don't have access to the portal you do. I won't be able to sit there and look at your application. I won't be able to assist you much. But the 800 number, the 844 number, 844 number is the one that's going to be able to assist you the fastest and quickest, and that is a toll-free number. All right, so we want you to provide complete documents. Okay, if you're trying to piecemeal this together, don't put your application in. Try to have all your documents together. It's only going to delay and could jeopardize the application not receiving any awards. When I say piecemealing, I mean, well, Mike, I got my 2019, but I'm still working on my 2020, but I'm gonna go ahead and put my application in and send it in with that. So at least I get in line. No, you're gonna get a response back. We need the other information, which could jeopardize you. So once you get all the information together, that's why we're out here in front of this thing, trying to give as much information as available. Get all your documents together before you apply all at one time. Application correction. This is critical, guys, because I know it's gonna happen. I got fingers that don't type so well. SBA is not able to make corrections on behalf of the applicant. The applicant who requires corrections will need to contact the call center hotline. Again, 844-279-8898. Applicants who still intend to apply for a PPP and are applying for the RRF. So I'm gonna apply for my second round of PPP. I just hadn't done it yet because I got a cover period I got to get through. If you're gonna do that, we're suggesting you go ahead and apply for the PPP first before you do the RRF. And that's the only thing we're saying about it. Pilot period has already expired. It's come and gone, but it's in our thing. They picked about 1,000 people from around the country, said, hey, check out this thing, put your information in, see how it works. Have no fear. They were all guinea pigs. They did not receive any funds or anything like that. So we're going to go live on May 3rd is when we're going to start doing it. We are going to have a priority period of 21 days to allow small businesses and people that are socially and economically disadvantaged applicants to have their loans put in first. All eligible applications will be processed and funded after the 22 days, but you can still put your loan application in if you're not a socially and economic disadvantage. You can still put your application in, but we're not going to fund any of those until after the 22 day or 21 days. So there we go. What is socially disadvantaged individuals? These are individuals been subject to racial and ethnic prejudice and culture based because of their identity as a member of a group without regard to their individual qualities. So individuals who are members of the following group: Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, including Alaska, Native Hawaiians, Asian Pacific Americans, any of that, you're in there, you're going to be in the group. So you're okay to get funded the first 21 days. Economic disadvantaged individuals, basically the same social disadvantaged people who did not have the opportunity to get access to capital due to their social disadvantage. So if you haven't had that, you'll be in there. Entities required, you're going to have to do, you're going to have to do your own thing for this organization qualifying for the priority of period. So when you enter this, I'm going to go over this real quick right here. When you enter this, here's the funds in case you're worried about not having funds set up. You're going to have $5 billion set aside for applicants with 2019 gross receipts not more than 500,000. That's your 2019 post-pandemic. If you had sales between 500 and $1.5 million, we're going to set aside $4 billion. In addition, $500 million will be set aside for people with gross receipts not more than $50,000, so $50,000 and below. So $49,999 or below, we're going to set aside $500 million for y'all. So you'll be assured you're going to get some funds. And with that, I'm going to take questions and answers and stop sharing, hopefully. Do this correctly, guys. Stop sharing. There you go.
Thank you, Michael. That was very thorough. Really appreciate that. I know we have a number of restaurants and bar owners on the call now. So folks, I see Dot Spot, 403 Club, Perky's. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask Michael while we have him. See Melissa logging on here from the Dot Spot.
Hi there. Thank you for that information. It was really great. Sorry, I'm crooked. This is kind of a weird question, but my business partner is also on this call. We own a bar and grill here in Wyandotte County, and we would be 75% female owned. Would we be considered a minority owned business?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. There's so much, and I know, and that's one thing I want to say too in people having questions out there still. It's a lot of information to pack down into a 30-minute presentation. And so the web page is the best place to go to verify stuff. But anyone who, and also that has to be 51% owned by a minority. And it wasn't in that PowerPoint because we're changing the PowerPoint as we go. The one I had yesterday did a great job on fact of saying, if you, for instance, had 5 owners and each one had 20%, 2 Hispanic and 1 woman, then we consider that 60%, so you'd have a majority. However you get to the 51%, you got to have a minority ownership of 51% or more to get that.
Thank you.
Great point.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks,
great point.
Melissa. We've got about 7 minutes. Any other questions from the floor? Okay, well, Michael, great job. Peter, thanks again for joining us. Justin had to log off to put out a fire. For everyone on the call, thank you very much for joining us today. We hope this information was helpful. We look forward to you all applying. If you are having any challenges, feel free to reach out to us at the chamber, and we'll see what we can do on the back end to help connect you to the right people to help you. Quick plug.
Craig. Daniel,
Yes, Craig Gaffney.
Could I ask Michael a quick question? Michael, I'm with Country Club Bank, and we were honored and privileged to handled almost 2,000 PPP loans in both the first 2 rounds and then round 3, and probably some 287 million. And a lot of and you may not have the answer to this, but it's something I asked Robin Wells, who you may know with our bank a lot. But there are any of the loans that we've had over $2 million that we've submitted forgiveness applications for. We've had nothing back on that, number one. And then number 2, some of the PPP forgiveness applications that we sent in for our small business owners came back with the error codes and have submitted those. And those have been slower to get responses back. I don't know, I don't know whether you're getting any sense from the folks that are handling that with the SBA as to, maybe just kind of what the goal is for timing. A lot of these small businesses are kind of holding their breath, what's going to happen. And so while certainly the application process and that's that sort of thing, and it's great on this restaurant program that we've got now, that for sure. But just kind of curious on the forgiveness side, if you're hearing much on your end, Michael.
Well, I did see that big news break come out and said Craig can't have any forgiven loans. But anyway,
Thanks, Michael.
That's what I remember seeing. I don't know. I think everybody else knows. No, Craig, what it is also there was a time period there from September to about December of last year that loans got put in as sort of what's going on. And the 2 million and stuff, the problem we got is, of course, like I started off the thing with, you know, when all this started, as you're well aware of being SBA lender, we were a very small agency. And people who have the qualifications that would be associated with any kind of financial banking are, as you well know, at the bank, are not standing on every street corner. So we've had to sort of reinvent our staff and train people and get them up. And then it's like, you know, we were doing pretty good. And then March comes along and they throw the restaurant and the shattered venue on us. And so then we have to disperse. And so that's in a long way of saying that we're behind. Yes, we're trying to catch up. Yes, but we're also trying to cover so many programs and so many applications. The intent from headquarters is they want to get the money out on the street. Then we'll start getting you, the lenders, and the other people back on the back end. And so that's been the priority. As obviously, you know, that law passed March 11th. Here it is April. We're not going to have the program rolled out on the restaurant till May 3rd. So that was an unfortunate delay. But it's just we're trying to do so much with so few people, and that's really what it is. If you got them sitting there, we're trying. They're supposedly hiring more people. I don't know where they're getting them from. I don't know what they're going to do or how it's going to work, but that's really what we're setting at. And we still have to do our 7A and 504 loans, as you well know. So
Right.
it's not just these, but
Well,
it is a little time consuming.
We appreciate you, Michael. Thank you very much.
No problem, sir. Thank you. Couldn't do it without y'all. I doubt all these people want to send me an application and let me process it and be like, yeah.
Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us. I'm going to plug our business after hours, our first in-person event in over a year on Thursday from 4:30 to 6:30. We still have a few slots available. If you're wanting to make it, please register online. We're looking forward to a great event, and we will be observing all UG Public Health Department protocols. But again, really excited to get back in person. Moving forward, you will see more events that are in person or hybrid, meaning live stream and in person from the chamber. So again, we're working hard to try and get this thing back open as well. And we encourage you all to participate with us in a safe way. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll be in touch. Michael, Peter, thanks again. Really appreciate your time. Take care, everyone.
Thanks.